In this A-level IB biology video, I'm going to be teaching you how to carry out a chi-squared test. Now, in a previous video, I taught you all about quadrats. And if you look here, this is a clip from that previous video. Remember, a quadrat is a square frame, as you can see in the picture, and it's used to estimate population densities. So you count the number of individuals of a particular species that sit within the quadrat. Those quadrats, remember, are placed randomly, and then you can multiply up to cover a larger area to work out species density, estimate species population. Now, the point of a chi-squared test is to use that data generated from using a quadrat to determine if there's a statistically significant association between the distribution of two species. So it uses data produced from quadrat sampling, and it's used to determine if there is a statistically significant association between the distribution of two species. So a chi-squared test can be carried out in 5 steps. Firstly, you want to identify the hypothesis, a null versus alternative hypothesis. So the null hypothesis is the one being tested. So you're trying to prove if that hypothesis is correct. Alternative means everything else. So all alternative hypotheses. The second step is to construct a table of frequencies containing observed versus expected. Third step is to apply the chi-squared formula. Step 4 is to determine the degree of freedom, and don't worry if you're not too sure about everything I'm saying, I promise I'll talk you through an example so it all becomes clear. And to determine the degree of freedom really means to work out the number of independent categories there are in a particular test. And then the final step is to identify the p-value, which for the two distributions to be statistically significant, this p-value should be less than 0.05. I'm going to use some data from the BioNinja website, which is an excellent website full of useful resources, to show you an application of the chi-squared test. The presence or absence of two species of scallop was recorded using 50 quadrats, each 1 metre squared on a rocky seashore. The following distribution pattern was observed. 6 quadrats contained both species, 15 contained the king scallop only, 20 contained the queen scallop only, and 9 contained neither. And here's a table of that data. So queen scallop along the top, king scallop along here. So we said that 6 quadrats contained both species. King scallops featured in 15 by themselves, whereas that number was 20 for the queen scallops. 9 quadrats contained neither, and now we're totaling up. So we can see that overall 50 quadrats measuring 1 metre squared each were counted. So according to our list of steps, we need to firstly identify the hypothesis. And remember, that was null versus alternative. So our null hypothesis in this case will be that there is no significant difference between the distribution of the two species of scallop, i.e. their distribution is random. So the null hypothesis H0, there is no significant difference between the distribution of the two species, i.e. their distribution is random. The alternative hypothesis, therefore, is kind of the opposite of that, which is stating, therefore, that there is a significant difference between the distribution of the two species, i.e. the two species are associated. The species are associated with each other. Our second step was to construct a table of frequencies, which contains both the observed versus expected frequency. Now we know here that this is our observed frequency. Now we need to calculate the expected frequency, and we can do that using an equation. The expected frequency is the row total times the column total, and then that number is divided by the grand total. So this is a very important formula. To make it easier for you to see what's going on, here we have our observed numbers versus the table up here, which we're trying to construct of the expected numbers. Now, to work out those numbers in that empty table, just follow the instructions given by the formula, which was do the row total times the column total divided by the grand total. Let's go in here and work out what this number should be. So we're going to do the row total using these numbers down here. There was the row total. We're multiplying that by the column total, and then we're dividing it by the grand total, which was 50. And that gives us a number which is 10.9. And so I've tidied that up just so you can see more clearly the final answer in the table. Now we'll move on. So looking to work out what number would go here. Again, we do the row total, 21, this time by this column total, which was 24, divided by the grand total, which was 50. And that equals 10.1. Moving on to this number now. Row total 29 multiplied by column total 26 divided by grand total 50. And that answer is 15.1. Working out this number now. Row total 29, column total 24, grand total 50. 29 times 24 divided by 50 equals 13.9. Okay, now work out the total for each row. So 10.9 plus 10.1 is 21. 15.1 plus 13.9 is 29. 10.9 plus 15.1 is 26. 10.1 plus 13.9 is 24. Our total again is 50. Step 3 in our instructions was apply the chi-squared formula. And this looks disgusting, but I promise it's okay. Just trust. As with all formula, it's really important you know what everything stands for. So you have your sum sign, which just means add it all up. O is your observed frequency. E is your expected frequency. So we have our formula, and I brought down the two tables showing the expected and observed numbers. So O is our observed frequency. We're looking at the Queen's scallop, and we're looking for the number which were present. So that's why 6 goes here, which we took from this number over here. In terms of the number of observed absence, that was 15. Now looking at our expected frequency, we can put it out the table and we can see it's 10.9. The expected absent frequency was 10.1. Now if you do O minus E squared divided by E, that's 6 minus 10.9 squared over E, which is 10.9. Pop that into your calculator and you'll get a value to 3 significant figures, which is 2.20. If you do the same on the right hand side, you're going to do 15 minus 10.1, square it, divided by 10.1 to get a value of 2.38. Now we're looking at when the King's scallop was absent but the Queen's scallop was present. You can see from here that the observed frequency was 20. They were both absent in 9 cases. Moving across to the left-hand table now, looking at the expected frequency for when the Queen's scallop was present and the King's scallop was absent, we can see that that was 15.1. When both were absent, the expected frequency was 13.9. And then popping it back into that equation, O minus E squared divided by E, 20 minus 15.1 squared divided by 15.1 gives 1.59. 9 take away 13.9 squared divided by 13.9 gives 1.73. Now I've brought the equation down for calculating the chi-squared formula. We've done this bit using the table. We broke it up in the table to make it a lot more straightforward. So now all we have to do is sum those numbers, and I'll highlight the relevant numbers. So there's our chi-squared value, but we now need to determine the degree of freedom, which is basically determining whether our value falls within a significant level. Luckily, the formula is quite straightforward. It states that the degrees of freedom equals m minus 1 multiplied by n minus 1. M stands for the number of rows in your frequency table. N stands for the number of columns. Make sure you're clear that when we talk about the table in terms of number of rows and columns, we're looking at the observed table, and you can see that there are 2 rows, 1, 2, and 2 columns, because that third row and third column is just totaling it up. So therefore, m equals 2, n equals 2, so m minus 1 is 1, n minus 1 is 1. So the degrees of freedom here is 1. Notice that when you're comparing distribution patterns for two species, obviously the degree of freedom should always be 1. And I think at IB and A level you can safely assume that it will be 1. So the final step, we're going to be comparing our calculated chi-squared value with a distribution table in order to determine whether our results are statistically significant. What does this term mean, statistically significant? There needs to be a less than 5% probability that the results are due to chance. So this is the relevant row in the table because our degree of freedom was 1. Our chi-squared value came out at 7.90, which obviously sits at the higher end of the table. And that therefore means that this value here is applicable. So what we're saying here is that there is a less than 1% probability of our results being caused by chance, which is great news because that means that in this particular investigation that our results are statistically significant. So the chi-squared 7.90 value is above a p-value of 0.01. I've circled that in the table. Therefore, there is a less than 1% probability that the results are caused by chance. So after all of this messing around with numbers, we can say that our results are statistically significant. Just to show you on the table when the results do start becoming statistically significant, I already told you that was when there is a less than 5% probability that the results are due to chance, and we can pull that out the table right here because there's 0.05, so everything above here is statistically significant. What does that mean in terms of rejecting and accepting our hypotheses? Well, we say in this case that the null hypothesis is rejected and the alternate hypothesis is accepted. And going all the way back up to the top of my little presentation, the alternate hypothesis stated that there is a significant difference between the distribution of the two species, so the species are associated. But is that association negative or positive? Well, because the species tend to not be present in the same area, we can say that there is a negative association between them.